3, 2.
You're now watching two old farts making noises.
Joe, do you want to know why some businesses succeed and some businesses fail? Why some businesses grow and some businesses don't? That's what this show is all about. Business, business, business.
Welcome to the Lost Dollar Business Club, everyone. This is a very exciting show on the folly, the fantasy, the failure of free trade. And we're going to be led today by outraged citizen John. This is going to be fun. There are claims of destructive competition, regression to the mean, free trade allowing terrible behavior across the world. So we have a lot to talk about today.
So hide the kid.
Get the freedom and the flexibility of remote work in the lucrative tech industry. Bend your life around the world. Bandicoot is the premier course and community for thriving in a remote tech career. Join the revolution today. Bandicoot.com, official partner of the Lost Dollar Business Club. All right, guys.
All right, we're back.
Great to have everybody back. Yeah, we have an action-packed show today.
We do. Outraged citizen is going to just go off on a tangent. We can all go take a nap for the next 40 minutes or so.
So tell us, John, what are you really outraged about? I mean, does anybody care that America's, gone down the Swanee?
I think John froze.
Oh yeah, he did.
Well,
there it is.
Wait, John, you froze. Did you hear David's question? Because you froze.
Why is it important? No.
Wait, we haven't even started that
part. Question.
Okay.
Do Americans even know what Swanee means?
I know. Do Americans know what anything means anymore? So there you go. Yeah. So, all right. You ready, John? You ready to be outraged?
Yeah, I'm ready to be outraged.
Yeah. All right. Do you want to pose a question to John, or just going to let him go with the folly and the fantasy and the failure of free trade?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the question is it as simple as just manufacturing? Is that everyone knows that manufacturing has left the United States after a huge high after World War II? Is it just manufacturing that's the problem? And I think this is an easy one to throw at you.
Yeah, definitely. It's not just manufacturing. Well, it's manufacturing is at some level, let's call it a core employment engine, right? It's think of it. When you think of car manufacturing, there's a lot that gets involved in that. Not just the assembly of the car, the parts, the design of the parts, the metal that goes behind it. So it's a huge chain of people that get employed. Now, after World War II, wages, in manufacturing, dramatically went up, and it's, and we know the story in the U.S., which is you could have a good manufacturing job and you could have what we call a middle class lifestyle. You could buy a house and your wife could stay at home and take care of the kids, and everybody would have a good lifestyle. So I think one of the reasons why we begin to lose jobs quickly in the 80s, I'm not going to say in the 70s, but in the 80s is, we started, professor at Harvard proposed that the best way to get management to do a good job is to align them with shareholders. So we're going to give them stock options as an incentive. So what's the quickest way to increase your profits? It's reduce labor or reduce your labor costs. So great incentive to ship jobs to Mexico and then to Asia, and then at one point we were sending jobs to China.
Who created this narrative, this free trade narrative? Because the Industry Week article that was written by Michael Collins, author of that book, Dismantling the American Dream: How Multinational Corporations Undermine American Prosperity. Ironically, he worked for multinationals for 30 years.
Yeah.
So what prompted this? He talks about the story of free trade, which is, it's not just that the CEOs bought into it and wanted to ship all these jobs off, but even people believe that free trade is the answer to all things. Even the common man believes that, and that's part of this false narrative.
Well, yeah, it's the way I look at it is it's the concept is a good one, right? If you look at the world as one big system, then whoever does the better job of producing something or creating a service should be the country or the area or the region that picks up the jobs that so you end up doing what you are best at. So part of that argument is that the best people get to do the work. Now, for let's just call it the 20th century, Europe and the U.S. and maybe at the tail end of it, Japan, and were the best people to do manufacturing jobs. Then we had it started. We started. I think we started with getting management and the incentives for them with share price. Those forces began to push for ways to reduce costs and increase profits, right? And then the concept of free trade, you meld those together, and it makes sense, and you could talk to a board or investors, and this is the right way to do it. We'll reduce costs, our products, we'll be able to sell more, and it's a chain of events that sort of is self-fulfilling.
But it assumes free trade assumes that part of the problem is it presumes that everybody plays by the same fair rules and has standards, and that's completely not true.
Yeah. I think when
one of the issues I have with this is that the word that you keep hearing is failure. Well, really, it's just apathy. It's just that there's a whole, for the 1980s, people were more concerned about the width of the shoulders in the suits they were wearing, and were having the Filofax in their hand and looking cool, and they didn't really care about jobs and learning stuff and doing learning a trade. They just think, oh, we'll let it all happen.
Are you bashing the trends of the 80s?
Yeah,
I'm afraid so. Yeah. But only because I lived through it, Mike.
And it's because you had no dance steps in the 80s. That's why.
That's what it was. Yeah. But
it's like frogs in a when you put a frog in a pot, and you slowly increase the water. By the time people realize what was happening, well, too late. The boat, you're getting fried, and so
are you bashing the French again, John?
Yeah,
everybody bashes the French, but no. But the other issue here is Americans, they're greedy. So if I own a company and I can take my manufacturing, my call center, even technical jobs, and I can get them, like for technical, Bangladesh, there's engineers. In the Philippines, there's call centers. If I can do in China, I can manufacture, or now everyone's going to Vietnam for everything. So if I can do that, and I'm an executive, because as an executive in our society today, you're only as good as what your last soundbite was. So my last soundbite has to make my bottom line go from 2x to 50x, or I'm not going to be the CEO next week, right? I'm not going to get my $100 million at the end of the year. And that unfortunately is how I think they're training people to think. No one thinks long-term. They're thinking I have to have a 30-second soundbite, I have to have a daily X, and I have to have a quarterly profit. Back in the 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, and even the 70s, and possibly in the 80s, if you were a CEO and you had a bad couple quarters, your board and the shareholders gave you time to turn your company around. And today it's like, oh, you had a bad quarter, you're fired. Like literally they want someone new to come in the next day. That's a problem because then nobody has the foresight, like just say the Chinese, John's favorite people, where they're thinking of what they're going to do in 2050.
Yeah.
The executives today in America think of what they're going to do tomorrow, where the Chinese and the Japanese are planning out, okay, the 100-year plan. And we don't do that. And I think that's part of the problem.
Not only
when you look at free trade.
Yeah.
It's bizarre.
I want to go back to the working man as well. How did they let this all happen?
Oh,
Well,
it's easy.
They just said, like,
If
sorry,
I was going
okay,
to write a book, it would be called Expectations versus Entitlement, and it would be the influence of education over the middle class and global economies. Because if you look at the way that people think, and it goes right back to what you were saying about executives and board members, they're being reduced, or in this bizarre way, down to being the equivalent of social media influencers, right? Because the quality and the values that they're actually bringing to the companies and to the global economy as a whole is less and less now than it ever was. It's not qualitative; it's more quantitative thinking, and it's bizarre because this is what's driving us, and it's driving us into a shithole. Sorry, excuse my French, but
you're not allowed to say "hole" on this program.
Yeah.
So.
Okay.
But no, it's true if you think about it, though, and that's why. And I just saw an article earlier this morning that TikTok is going to do $20 billion in e-commerce. And the reason I bring up TikTok is if I'm in Asia, my TikTok is showing me how to be a brain surgeon, how to be a carpenter, how to do this. In America, it's showing people dancing and doing stupid stuff. So there's a very much sense that Americans are still, unfortunately, their mind is we're still fat and happy. Well, we're not. We are literally becoming a second or a third world country.
It's not just the US, Stephen. It's also big chunks of Europe and the
Europe,
UK as well.
Nobody cares about Europe.
Yeah.
UK.
Yeah.
They got no money. Got weird money.
They got that fake money.
But I think yeah. Okay. So I like to link it to.
But again, I haven't heard anybody come back to how did this all? How did we let this happen? How did the workers say, I'm happy that you're going to make me redundant? I mean, what are all those people do?
No. The workers don't have a choice. The workers don't have a choice. The workers don't have a choice.
So what have they been doing?
And number two, wait, Dave, they don't. And number two, no. Trust me, Carl Icahn, when he took over stuff and stripped the company, you don't have a choice. That's number one. And if you don't understand what he did in the 80s, everyone listening needs to read a book. Number two, the perfect movie, Wall Street. Greed is good. That's how this happens because everybody's like, I can get rich. And that's why it happened, because people are lazy and people don't want to do anything. And the few union people that say this can't happen, the other gazillions of them who are going to get their $100,000 payout, oh, I'm rich. And then they realize $100,000 doesn't go that far. That's why it happened.
Yeah.
Well, I think that it accelerated, when this concept of executive pay to share price got going and we started giving stock options. I think that accelerated it, and so
but the political powers that may have accelerated, but the political powers of the United States in particular have allowed it to occur. I mean, there was no protectionism. There was at the federal level, there was lots of, from the 80s and beyond, lots of talk of free trade, this and the study in Industry Week that you shared with us about the ITC's, the International Trade Commission's report on the 16 free trade agreements from 85 to 2020 showed very little growth and job creation. So it showed no benefits. And it was the political leaders who allowed our country to have no protectionist measures against unbalanced and unfair rules.
Yeah, I think also when in what was it in the 1990s when we brought China into the World Trade Organization, that just accelerated the process of jobs going to China in a huge way, because and it goes to the point that we've all said, John. It goes back to the point that we've said that when you deal with people that have the same rules as you, then okay, it's a much fairer, or potentially has
Right.
it's a much fairer system. Now, I go back to the executive, because the executives, yeah, okay, you have this incentive for share price profits, right? And now all of a sudden China says to you, oh, we got this, we're 1.2 billion people, it's a huge market, there's a wonderful opportunity, come here, right? So there's a big rush to go to China. Part of the China thing is, oh, but there's a asterisk. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a 51% we own the company, and you have to transfer all your technology to us.
All your IP, all your
Yep.
intellectual property. Yeah.
All enterprise
Yeah.
property,
And
and
But
your
remember, China
executives,
did.
your executives
China
don't even
didn't
play by
start
the same
this.
rules either, right? Even,
Right.
even at home, they got a new set of rules where, hey, if they want to get something through that makes absolutely no damn sense, all they need to do is just get enough people in the Senate or wherever to push that bill through for them. And next thing you know, hey, you need to go, it takes you a year and a half to get your car license, and you're responsible for your vehicle, but you can get a gun in about 5 minutes, and you're not responsible for who you kill on your lawn.
Yeah.
How does that work? Right?
Yeah.
It's
No,
with
that's
that
fair.
kind of
I
mentality.
think that's okay. I'm good with that. That'll work. That'll work. Being a lizard person, we're good with that. It gets rid of everybody. But here's what's really interesting. If you look at the 80s, greed is good. Full stop. Carl Icahn, an iconic corporate raider, and there are other people doing LBOs all day. And for the average American, they don't get it. But that really set the pace where Reagan's like, oh, we're gonna get the airlines, we're gonna do this, and he got rid of like every regulation there was. So really, when he became president, he kind of got rid of a lot of things, and they opened the door. Your point about China wasn't really the first country. Americans found out about India, and they were like, ooh. And and to this day, we still use people in India and Bangladesh and other countries, because I have a guy who does accounting for one of our companies, and over in America, it's going to cost me $4,000 a month for someone to do this job. This guy costs me $150 a week, and it's better than the people we were paying $4,000 a month to. So what's happening is that Americans, go back to my thing, fat and lazy. You may not really be fat, but you're fat and lazy mentally. And the rest of the world's trying to
Americans
catch
are
up.
overweight. No, you're right about that.
But I'm just saying that up here, they're also fat and lazy,
Yes,
right?
yes.
They don't read, they don't think.
Get the freedom and the flexibility of remote work in the lucrative tech industry. Bend your life around the world. Bandicoot is the premier course and community for thriving in a remote tech career. Join the revolution today. Bandicoot.com, official partner of the Lost Dollar Business Club. So,
and they don't understand. That's not going to stop me. And they don't understand what happens when these, they get upset when an executive like a Jamie Dimon I made $300 million, but they don't realize how he made $300 million. When the Ford and General Motors and they start doing all this, they don't get it. Even, when they start bringing in robots, once again, the average worker, I don't think gets it. They only get it when it happens to them. 90% of the people that are going to listen to this show, they're not affected by it. They're going to be like, yeah, it doesn't matter. But
I'm
the people that are will.
For free markets, but executive pay is totally out of complete whack.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Should be higher.
Out of, I don't care that Jamie Dimon runs a big bank. He's not. He $50 million.
Yeah.
Is he really making all the decisions? No. There's a huge bunch of people there.
Right.
There's no way.
It's nonsense.
The guys are making that kind of cash. And it goes back to the executive pay to shareholder and all that baloney.
Well, let me ask you this question then. If I'm Jeff Bezos, right, and I started Amazon, now I'm not getting paid. I take my $1 a year, but you're okay that I have 150 billion because I started it. My stock's worth that, though. That's okay.
Yeah,
I'm okay with that.
I'm okay
with that. Okay, good. But I'm not. But what I'm not okay with, to your point, is a CEO getting $100 million when he didn't do anything. Because he has a whole team of people. So, but you're not going to crawl back that money. Like the executives aren't going to want to be executives if they can't get it. That's the problem.
Yeah, look, you know what? That's baloney because, for instance, in Sweden, the CEO and the difference between CEO and the rest of the workforce is, the difference is very much smaller than what we have in the US.
Right.
And they seem to have well-run companies there and people willing to take on the job. You can't have a free option where if I make a lot of money, I win, and if we lose any money, I don't lose. That
Right.
just that doesn't work for me. And it
So would you
doesn't work
want to
for.
tie executive comp? Should the executive then compensation be sort of like, listen, your base salary is $100,000, and depending on the profits, your bonus, either you're going to get a huge bonus, $50 million, or you get no bonus.
Or
Is-
just
No.
raise wages of the workers and let the CEOs still take as much as they want.
You can't do that because then everything goes up and people can't afford it. They can't afford it now. People
Look,
can't afford to live now. So if you raise it, what are you going to do?
yeah, we
But
look.
is
You
that
can
is that
give them
just
a good
a myth
salary,
that
right? Two, three
there's so
hundred.
much?
Yeah, go ahead.
One at a
You see,
time, guys.
I think it's just a myth. Like this will get banded around. It's been banded around since Thatcher in the 80s.
Yeah,
Let's not pay people more money because that'll cause inflation and everything will be more expensive. No, that's complete bollocks. What happens is that if you put people's wages up, the people that are sitting at the top of the tree with these ridiculous amounts of bonuses get slightly less.
Mm-hmm.
It's not the working man, because if the working man has more money in his pocket, the working person, to be politically correct, they spend it and
Oh,
they
yeah.
consume,
Yeah.
and it's good for the economy. So
Yeah.
why the hell are we squeezing people right at the bottom?
Well, because they
And
don't.
just
Because they don't have the people that you're referring to are the people who don't have the power to influence the decisions
Correct.
that are influencing their lives.
yeah.
Yeah,
They don't-
totally.
Yeah,
And
well then-
I mean, I don't believe in vilifying Jeff Bezos, but I don't praise him either, because at the end of the day, I mean, he could fall from the top of a mountain and land on his first dollar, right? It's that high and it's that ridiculous. He could never spend it in a million years anyway. But at the same time, the people that are working at the bottom can't even afford to go home and pay for their rent because they make
Right.
so little, right? So what's the point of it, right? What is the point of praising these guys that have billions and billions and billions of dollars, never spend it, with the people down at the bottom anyway? They can't spend it even if they wanted to. And the people at the bottom can't even afford to buy the crap that they're shoveling for these guys. It makes no sense. It's upside down. And you can't get out of that quandary once you started. We just have to stop this insane praising of people that are, these multi-billionaires. It just has to stop. It makes no sense.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
that it's okay to. I'm really happy when people are successful. I'm not jealous
Yeah.
of it.
Yeah.
I think that I think well, a lot of people work really hard. Lots of long hours, but there comes a point, I think, where we could all of us collectively say, okay, 50. If I have $50 million, I'm probably going to be okay. That I'm not going to be scraping my ass on the ground if I've got that. And then let's just do something constructive with the rest of the money within the company, like paying people a good wage, to get them to invest
Well,
again in the company in time and effort and bring new ideas and innovation, because the West, we've already lost the war to the trade war to
no,
the
it's
East
not.
anyway.
The war's not.
We're
The
all
war's
asleep. We're all asleep. We're all
It's
asleep.
not. I mean, it's not the kibosh isn't done on American manufacturing. I mean, look at what Biden's, not to praise Biden at all, but but he did do the Chips and Science Act and is bringing semiconductor manufacturing.
Yeah, that's only because the horse had already bolted.
Yeah.
No, but there's still
And I mean, and the thing about it is that COVID, that's the thing that everybody, when COVID happened, and the big China in and out, crap in, crap out, going in and out of China, when that all stopped, people thought, yeah, okay, we seem to be a little bit too dependent on either purchasing or selling to the Chinese, and that woke quite a few people up. And of course, and then you come out with what is it? This green green initiative. Oh, let's pay for green initiative. Basically, it's thinking it's to see how quick they can build a chip factory before the Chinese invade Taiwan and take it all.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Which is probably a very true. It's a true statement.
Here's
Well,
a question.
look-
Here's a question I'd like to pose to the group. If you're on a flight, transatlantic flight, would you rather be on a flight with a pilot that makes $250,000 a year or one that makes $50,000 a year?
That's right.
Yeah.
Paying more.
Yeah.
I want the pilot that knows how to work the computer that flies the plane. I don't care about his salary. I need to make sure the guy flying it knows all the little buttons to push, can read the iPad that tells him what to do, and speaks the proper language to where we're going. That's what I care about. I don't care how much they make, because these commuter pilots in America make like $20,000 a year.
Wow.
And when I was a kid growing up, we had a family friend that was a Pan Am pilot, and back in the 60s and 70s, they were making like 150, 200, and that was like cool. Now, when I talk to someone who's a pilot, they're like, they can barely pay their rent. And I don't care if you're a transatlantic pilot or not. So we have a misperception of where money needs to go. Like teachers should be paid a shitload of money, and so should police officers. Full stop.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, that's my point.
Well, maybe we should encourage all policemen to marry teachers, and then we have the ultimate offspring: clever and law-abiding people.
Right, John.
Which country is this?
Yeah, well, don't get me to the civil servants, because the civil servant wage situation.
Where would you be without them, John?
It's out of control. Well, look, don't get me on that, right? Because
talk about it, John. Tell us about civil service.
I thought you were. Come on, John, be outraged.
Look, for about 2 decades, I've been telling my wife that the police here are out of control, and and these guys, either they're badly trained or badly paid. Where the chiefs, in my town, the chief makes $200,000.
Yeah, but that's what most people should be making. I mean, my argument is the unions have been fighting for reasonable wage increases over this period of time, and most other people have not been doing that, which is why wages on the whole in America have not gone up in 30 years, inflation adjusted.
But how do Americans conceive unions? Do they conceive them as being something of value, or do they think they're all communists? And we're back to MacArthur again.
Well, look, the teachers union in the U.S. has destroyed the educational system.
Yes, that's a practicality. That's not the fund. They've also wrecked the funding situation. But I mean, the practicality, the actual doing of the job. You're right. They've failed us.
I mean, okay, we're going on to a different subject, but
it all ties though, John.
The U.S. keeps spending more money in education, but I don't know where it's going, but it's going to the wrong place, because there's plenty of money
it's
there.
Giving everybody a degree, John, and they've got degrees. Everybody's coming out of university. Everybody's happy. Everybody's got a degree, but they've got a degree in something which is not very practical. So when the apocalypse happens, they'll just be sitting around philosophizing about why it all happened, while people who don't have a degree will be out making stuff and doing stuff and being practical about it. The whole thing's gone a bit skew with. It's great that people have a great education, and go to university, but it seems to have fed this a whole generation of people who have valueless degrees.
Yeah, we prioritize. Here's companies, but it's actually companies want people that have college degrees, because I don't know, maybe they think they're better qualified. That's because
they can fill their name in at the top of a piece of paper.
No, it's because high school graduates now, half of them, are not very well educated. They can't read very well. They can't write very well. They don't have critical thinking, because we go back to the argument that Steve has said before, that we pass everybody. Everybody gets, you can't fail people. It's just, so the money that goes to education, I don't know where it's going. It's going to somebody, but it's not going to paying teachers more. No. And it seems that the whole system is just deteriorated.
It seems like education is being gutted.
Yeah,
and if you look at the correlation between education and you look at pay and you look at things like unions, you start to see that the closer we move towards technology, the less influence that unions have. The less influence that unions have, the less control that the middle class and the lower class have over their own lives. Now you've got the executive branch of any company that can do whatever the hell they want, because no one is collectively working in their favor. And that's extremely dangerous to society as a whole, when we go back to serfdom, basically, because you've got no power and the kings and the queens are making all the decisions. It's not good for us.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, I think it's going to get worse, because the idiots that are going to be president of the United States, and I don't care, Republican, Democrat, whatever, they're either going to be billionaires or they're going to be whatchamacallit. They're either going to be billionaires or somebody in somebody's pocket. And the problem with that is that they got theirs. So, if you will, this whole free trade only hasn't failed, if you will, our country. It's failed teaching, policing, but it just is this ripple effect. And I think people don't realize that. And it's not just us, it's a global thing. Everybody's like, oh yeah, everything's better in China. And
it's not a global thing. It's a Western world, high income nation regression to the mean.
It is global though, because what makes worse for us gives somebody in the Philippines or in China or wherever a better life, right?
That's right, but temporarily too, because their own domestic economies can't sustain without the U.S. consumption. Those economies don't succeed either. Yes. So it's almost like a false success, because now the U.S. is less self-sustained, and now these other countries are just feeding off of, just taking consumption dollars away from the United States marketing manufacturing engine.
Oh, do you not think that there's been a paradigm shift in that through COVID, that the Chinese locked everything in and still managed to consume, and now all of a sudden they're finding their own market, where and encouraging people to buy Chinese product. It's only a matter of time before the great elixir of love from China will just stop, and we'll have to wean ourselves off it, because the Chinese will just be happy to consume within their own sphere.
It's already stopped, David. The elixir of love from China is already stopped. I don't, the last 6 months, almost a year, China is like, they're not crazy about us. They're showing their might. They're trying to show their economic power with doing a brick currency. I mean, they're like, look at us. So they are now getting out of their 13th, 14th century mentality and like, we're tired of hiding behind our wall. We're going to go explore the world again. And they've just been building up for it. But it goes back to what we said. Japan and China have 1,000 and now 100-year plan. And now they're putting their plan into work. And our country has tomorrow's the plan, if that. And that's part of the issue. Yeah. So China's rhetoric against us is not good.
It's absolutely correct.
I don't think it's just US though. I think it's most of the Western countries. I mean, I'm stuck here in sunny Holland, literally today, it's they have not got a Scooby-Doo what they're doing, and it changes from one day to the next. and like I said, I go back to COVID. It's China closed itself down for whatever reason it felt necessary as regards the spreading of the disease. But it gave them an opportunity to test the theory that they were already working on, because I agree with Stephen with their long-term plan. I think it just quickened it. I think it was proof of concept, having to close China down and to cut off the rest of the world.
Yeah. Well, they succeeded in that, and it's not just a trade war that we're engaged in. It's an ideological one, and the military incursions that have been happening that Stephen pointed out. I mean, this is just what we hear about. This is not even just necessarily we're hearing about everything that's happening. So, in any case, I wanted to make one connection to the free trade and the concept of fairer trade, which is, if we want to preserve the U.S. as a high-income nation, as a nation of people who, I mean, theoretically have the goods and services that keep a higher standard of living, which low-wage nations usually they have worse regulation or no regulations. They have no environmental protections. They have no labor protections. So they're able to. The low wage concept is really a fake one because it's not comparable to the standards that we have in the U.S. and the West. But does this mean that fair trade, the pursuit of fair trade at the federal level, is really in the interest of national security? When we talk about, so the article talked about solutions like import quotas or creating income-adjusted national tariffs, and under the guise of saying that countries need to care for their own unique circumstances first. Could fair trade be, and those fairer trade policies be seen as an imperative for the national security?
Gee, I don't know. I think it's, the West, standard of living has to drop. Okay, is dropping, and the other parts of the world's standard of living have go up. It's just it's inevitable, right? At some point, okay, not everything will, we won't lose everything. They won't gain everything, but wages, are not going to, be the same, but the wages in Asia, have to go up at some level, or going up at a couple of levels from where they were, which was, slavery practically, right?
Right.
In China, you used to make a buck an hour, and now you make $7 an hour. It's they've taken a lot of people out of poverty. So, we can't, the expectation that, we're going to be always way above the other ones is doesn't make sense. And as education has, we had the monopoly on technology and education,
Not
now the
anymore.
rest of the world is catching up huge, right?
Huge.
They've come
Huge
here, they've
indeed.
adopted stuff, we've given them stuff. Look at India,
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
and part of the problem is that we the competition is so great because we have more and more people demand a middle class lifestyle. And
Well,
so,
the funny thing is going back to that, what you were just kind of saying is like a form of slavery. I mean, I think that's really accurate. There was a time where countries in the West would ship their problems over to another country, right? Because it was nice and cheap, and it was their problem once they got it. And then now, if you look at countries like India, they're in your backyard with education because they've focused all of their attention, individually on specific things. Now they come over, they're way better at the knowledge side than most of the Western countries are. So now they're competing both ends. So all of a sudden you find yourself slipping like the UK did back in the 60s through to the 80s, where they just literally suddenly became just bankers. And the European Union did with Poland, bringing them into the European Union, thinking, oh, nice, everybody's got a PhD and not a pot to piss in. Now they've got 5 pots to piss in and an education. I think now we're feeling the sting of that in the West, of that kind of policy of ship it over there because they're nice and cheap. And they're not cheap anymore, and they're hurting you here because they're coming and bringing that knowledge with them, while the people in the West are losing out on education.
True education. Let's point out true
Yeah.
education, as opposed to the superficial sense that you're educated and just pass through, which is what the failure of our government education system has done so far, it seems.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a big one. But so it's intimately, the domestic issues are intimately tied to this illusion of free trade being a positive force, because it guts the intellect by shipping it offshore, and it perpetuates this environment of just shipping your knowledge and your expertise to places where the wages are temporarily lower, instead of creating a self-sustainable economy, which is what the United States had for a long time in the 20th century. which
Yes.
was an economy that fed itself.
Yeah, but unfortunately, those days are gone, and we're not getting them back.
No.
And you will never get them back because now everybody's so concentrated on tech. So, and then where do you manufacture it? Not here.
Not
You know,
here.
even cars are not manufactured here. And what's really funny is it's like now there was an article I was reading the other day that said a lot, whether it's in the United Kingdom or in the US, now a lot of people in high school are going back to trade school. Like I remember when we went to high school, you could take auto body, you could take carpet, you could take shop, right? And you could learn. And nowadays kids are like, I want to make an app, I want to make $1 million. I want to be on TikTok. So they don't want to learn anything. And now what's happening is ones with an IQ are saying, I should probably learn how to build something or do this or do that. The problem is now there's 3D printing machines that will build you a house. There's AI that'll do this. So you really just need, like you have to look almost 10 years ahead of today and figure out what you need to be so you can actually make a living. Because 90% of what we see today won't be here in 10 years.
I think the best bet at the moment is to be an electrician.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. That's
HVAC.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, those guys. Yeah.
That's right.
People who can sling a wrench.
Yes.
There you go. I like it.
Oh, I saw that movie.
Yeah, we financialize the economy, you know, to a degree that makes absolutely no sense. In the 80s, you know, the finance part, you know, financial, you know, companies or economy was 8%, you know, of GDP in the US.
Yes.
Now it's, you know, like 16-17%.
Yes.
And, you know, I like to make money and I'm, you know, so, you know, my whole life's been in finance, but, you know, a lot of what finance does is doesn't produce anything. It just shuffles money around and, you know, takes from one and gives to the other. And, you know, we
That's
don't add
2008,
anything.
baby. Financial crisis. All we did was moving from A to B back to A.
You know, so
and that's what people don't understand about finance. That's why I always say when we were all in finance a million years ago together, we were the oldest profession. An investment banker is the oldest profession. Prostitutes, you got nothing on us because when we're done talking to you, you left $1 billion on the dresser for us. And there's tons of cases with mega firms that have done that have said, hey, get a bond, do this. And they've taken companies from AAA to CCC because they made a fee, right? They're not the betterment of the company, but it's the betterment of them. And we can discuss that in another show.
It ties right back to executive pay, you see.
Pay, correct.
I think that's quite disturbing, John, that you said that you'd spent all your life in finance and all you were doing was just moving around bits of paper. I mean, that's what I find.
You didn't know that?
That's all we do, John. That's it,
my
Dave.
wife says, you know, you have no dignity. Yeah, I have no dignity. You know, it's true. Let's call a spade, right? You know, when finance, you know, moves money to create companies and start companies, that whole process, that's additive. But, you know, the whole trading world, you know, it just, you know, it does create, you know, some benefit, because if you have something and you want to sell it, somebody there to buy it, but a lot of it is not additive. It's just, you know, we take a lot of fees for, you know, for
nothing
stuff that's, you know, just.
It's so funny because we're seeing a bunch of you guys in HVAC now.
Yeah,
you know, the most apractical people in the world are now buying their way into HVAC. It's just really funny. Well, it's funny because it's not, but
everybody needs a place to go, and they're like, the problem right now in finance is AI, because AI can do everything. Like we use AI constantly for spreadsheets, for PowerPoint, for even writing what the show is going to be about, right? So AI does it all. So realistically, there was an article last week that PwC, yes, I know we're going off track, said that they have now a deal AI. So they can find a company, so the AI searches, finds a company, gives you a whole analysis of it and says, here you go, and can do a deal without even pressing the flesh. Analysts that get paid millions of dollars to write reports, they actually asked AI to write a report on a company. And then the analyst wrote a report. It was almost identical. And now they're like, well, why do we need analysts? So this is what's happening, right? They're like, they better take their $20 million and go buy $1 million company, because if not, they're not going to have a job in the next 10 years. And that's the issue that I don't think people understand. And that's going to really cause nuts.
if there's no analysts anymore, I'll have to stop. I'll have to stop shipping out all those crystal balls because it's,
Please, if you would, that'd be great.
Yeah.
Save us some money.
Yeah.
Well, what do you think, boys? Should we do a little lost and found, or have we fair trade up?
Let's
All right.
just see where it takes us.
If you like the Lost Dollar Business Club, you should subscribe. If you like it that much, you should also tell a friend of yours. So you should subscribe and like. Also, you should put comments below so we know what you're thinking. Tell us what shows you want to hear. Just help us make it better.
So, who's lost $1 this week, and who's found $1 this week?
Okay, I got a good one.
Oh, whoa!
Wow, right out of the gate.
There you go, John.
Oh, come on, John.
Okay, so Kim Kardashian has joined with an ex-Carlyle group, which is a big, private equity firm, and they have they've launched a private equity firm called Sky Partners, and they're in Berlin,
Nazis.
talking to people there, and they're trying to get 10 to 12 people to invest 100 to 500 million bucks, and then the limited partners minimum of 10 million. And she's really excited to hear the stories of the limited partners. And it just goes right back to what Kurt said. It's all about influencers and marketing.
Yeah.
Holy shit!
John and I will be raising a fund, and we're just looking for about $25. So
Yeah. So that to me is.
I'm confused, John. So what is that? Lost or found $1?
She's found gazillions. She's she's brilliant.
She's parlayed no talent into $1 billion business. Let me tell you, that's what she's done.
She's absolutely brilliant. She's looked at the system and said, "You suckers, I'm gonna take you for every dime that you don't have."
Yeah, I love it. That's great. All right, who's next with our lost and found?
Well, I've got the Apple Vision Pro. So you guys saw that the Apple Vision Pro was announced for early next year at $3,500. And that thing is set to revolutionize the augmented reality of all of the people who will be buying that. And it'll be the beginning of a new iPhone era. So that's a found dollar for a lost civilization.
I will tell you that there was an article this morning in the FT, and the guy said that he tried it, and he said now, as far as he's concerned, the metaverse, AR, VR, all that crap now is too boring. They need something even better than what just came out. And I think it's a loss, by the way. Not everybody's stupid enough to pay $3,500 for that.
No. But it's the beginning, because remember when the iPhone first came out, that was
$1,000. It still is.
That was an absurdly expensive.
It still is absurdly expensive, Michael. It's still $1,000.
I don't think that price point is not priced as a consumer product.
No, it's not. No, it's not intended to. No, it's the early adopter price.
Yeah.
Stupid people price. Got it. Okay.
Stephen, have you got a?
I do, baby. I got one. This one, I was reading this morning at 4 a.m. I got a chubby. I was all excited. I made a big note. Here we go.
All right.
The Las Vegas Police Department has video that they on the body cam of the UFO crashing and landing in Vegas, and a phone call from the family going, "There's a saucer in my backyard, and there's 2 8, 9 foot or 10-foot guys standing next to the saucer." And literally the police department guy is talking to somebody at another call, and you actually see the thing like coming down. So to me, it's a found, because me and the lizard people now can finally come out of the hole and take over the world. So yes, we're coming. It's only a matter of time.
That's right.
But was that also a found dollar for everybody selling LSD in Las Vegas in the last couple of years?
It's a found. You know why it's a found dollar? And here's why it's a found dollar. Because all these people that think UFOs are crap and they don't believe anything, and NASA finally said the other day, and so did the Pentagon, we have stuff, and they said this in 2019, but nobody listened. We have other world stuff, and we found stuff because no one listens. It's a found dollar because now you're going to there'll be more exploitation of it. There'll be more movies. There'll more of this. Once again, people are going to be just buying stuff like, I want to buy Star Wars stuff. I'll buy because it's real now. Like, take me to your leader shirts. So for the T-shirt business and all those people that make bumper stickers, this is a huge, big business. And by the way, you get your bumper sticker at www.toololdfarts.com. No, I'm just kidding.
So good.
I'd have to say the latest deal between, for Tesla, not my favorite company in the world right now, but anyway, they've just created.
Wow.
There's a new supercharged network. They're moving closer to it. Yeah, nobody's
Stop
favorite.
it.
And losers this week. It's more personal. It's the forest fires that are raging all over the place in Canada, and the smoke that's everywhere. So we're down on that.
Yeah, that's real bad.
Now it's time to hear about horse meat. Go on, David. Tell us about the meat that doesn't really exist.
Well, I've got two things for you guys, right? One is, and I'm going to tell you right before we start, this is an absolute, right? All those people on the East Coast of America who had warehouses full of face masks that couldn't use them after COVID, and now rubbing their hands in glee because everybody's having to wear a face mask because of all the pollution from
That's
the fires from Kurt's backyard. So that definitely.
Thank you, Kurt.
It's our
Thanks,
gift
Kurt.
to you.
And the other one I found this morning as well, which I thought absolutely brilliant. It says a tropical island benefits from the AI hype, and it's the Caribbean island of Argilia, who actually own the .ai domain name. Right. Yeah. And they've already made $26 million this year in sales alone. So
nice.
Happy days. Last week they were selling coconuts. Today they're selling,
They're selling.
So,
guys, this is a wonderful show. Thank you so much. We will be back next Saturday morning at 6 a.m. New York time. That's EST for you people that were watches on the left, or people 6 a.m. on the right. And subscribe and like to the channel. Leave your comments. If you want to be a guest on the show and you have something profound you want to say, please reach out to us. We'd love to have you, and you can deal with the five of us. Good luck with that. And then that's it, guys.
We want all those Las Vegas policemen to come and tell us how much.
Yes, if you're in Las Vegas, contact us. If you're the policeman with the UFO or the family that saw the 7-foot giant or 10-foot people, we definitely want you.
I mean, the aliens will welcome them to the show too.
Yeah,
you have one on now. You don't even appreciate it.
Take your mask off. Take your mask off.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm taking my mask off. Don't forget to subscribe and like. We'll see y'all next week.